I really appreciate it. I also want to thank, there were several people today that helped set things up. Thank you. Especially want to thank Wendy's daughter, Natasha.
Tasha!
She planned it all. So thank you, Natasha. So I read today, you're supposed to keep a toast for a birthday to like 2 or 3 minutes. You're not going to be that lucky. You would never know it looking at me today, but in high school, I was geeky. That's more laughs than I was expecting. Dating was trouble for me back then. I got a little better in college and grad school, but it was still pretty rough. So as you can imagine, after 18 years of marriage, I was kind of terrified of going back to the dating game again, but this time as a middle-aged divorcee. But fortunately, I found internet dating. And it was new back then, but I quickly realized it was just sales, and I knew how to do sales. In fact, for the next 14 months, I went out with 60 different women. And I know the number because I was keeping copious notes for a book I was planning to write on internet dating. And the experience was so different than what I had in high school. I was just having a blast. I was looking forward to putting together this book. And then on my 61st first date, I went out with this really cute redhead named Wendy Wooders. And I liked her from the start, and in a couple of months, I knew that I couldn't take the risk of letting her get away, even though I have to stop the research on the book. So I asked her to go steady, and she said yes. But as I tend to do, pretty quickly I started second guessing myself. Man, am I really ready for this? Do I really want to stop now? So some trepidation, I drove over to Wendy's house, and I was really nervous, and I said, Wendy, I really like you, but
how many people?
I think I just need to keep dating other women too for a while. And I thought Wendy was going to be really angry or really upset, but much to my surprise, she was just totally chill. She said, Steve, relax, no worries, no problem at all. And I'll just date other men as well.
Close.
2 days later, I drive over to her house. I changed my mind. Let's stay exclusive. Once you hit the jackpot, there's just not much point in going back to the nickel slots. Many of you have heard stories about Wendy's shopping prowess. She's not. No. She's not just a shopping pro. She has her black belt, 2nd degree. Every year on her birthday, this is true, she used to get a handwritten card from the senior VP of Macy's. And more than once, I've seen Wendy's friends who thought they were shopping pros end up in tears after trying to keep up with her during a long day of continuous shopping. And Wendy and her daughter Natasha, who's also well on the way to achieving her own black belt status.
I trained her well.
They used to take Natasha's son, my grandson, with them shopping whenever they went, starting when he was like 3 years old. And he got traumatized by this. For years, he would break into hysterics if they got anywhere near a TJ Maxx or a Ross or Nordstrom's. One of the things I love about Wendy is that she's very intelligent. She has a 4-year degree in accounting and a CPA and a 4-year degree in computer science. So she's able to spot a bargain a mile away, no matter what it looks like, no matter what the shape. Now, resisting buying said bargain, not always so much. One time her credit card was stolen, and I didn't report it. The thief was spending less than her. Wendy hates that joke. I used to like that. Wendy has some similarities to the comedian Lucille Ball. I guess it's the hair or something. I mean, as an example, she still has the whole right hand versus left hand concept thing not quite down 100%. Now, to be fair, that runs in her family, the Wood family. Right, Willie?
Right, Willie?
And oh my gosh, she must misplace her iPhone 2 or 3 times a day. Everybody who's staying with her knows this. And it used to be that I have to get out my iPhone and call it in order to find it. Sometimes I even have to use the Go to My iPhone app. Thank God for Apple Watch. Now she pings it and she gets it herself. Saves me so much time. And as we all know, time is money. Money that Woody's going to spend on more clothes she doesn't need, but hey, they're 25% off. Wendy also has a lot of I Love Lucy type moments just happen to her. How many of you were here with us in Scotland when we got married 15 years ago next month? Yeah. Hard to believe it's been 15 years.
Yes, it is.
So we got married at the Dalhousie Castle in Edinburgh. About 35 friends and family flew in to see us. It was very nice. And we're all in the chapel waiting for Wendy to walk down the aisle through the door. And at the appointed time, I got up on the stage along with my best men, my son Ryan and my brother Alan. We're dressed in the Scottish coats and the full kilts, the full 9 yards, as they like to say. And we're standing up there waiting for Wendy to come through the door and walk down the aisle. And about 5 minutes go by. Not really a big deal. The Woods are not really known for their punctuality. Right, Willie? And then 10 minutes go by, and 15 minutes, and 20 minutes, and 25 minutes. And about the 40-minute mark, Alan yells out, "Wendy does know it's today, right?" So, yeah, the backstory, this is the I Love Lucy thing, is the hairstylist, for whatever reason, decided to style her 2 bridesmaids first, so that took away any room for margin of error. And then she waited by the wrong door for an hour until Wendy finally found her. So they had to rush to the hair job. Valerie's, she's like in shock right now. They had to rush to the hair job. And then Wendy ran across the Dalhousie campus to get to the chapel. For those of you who were there, you may have noticed that Wendy's kind of out of breath and maybe a little disheveled with her hair. But in her typical aplomb and good humor, she laughed it off and had a terrific time along with the rest of us. Now, Wendy is a really sweet person, but she's absolutely not a pushover. And this dates back from childhood. One time, she was playing Monopoly with Willie and Willie's friend. Willie's her older brother. Les was their younger brother, but he was just watching. And the friend conned her out of a couple properties, which got her mad. But then he had the temerity to look her in the eyes and say, "See, girls don't have a head for business." So Wendy takes the Monopoly board and flips it up, and then she punches him in the throat. He was incapacitated for 3 minutes. And then there was the morning when her brother Les was out in the front yard lifting weights with their stepbrother Greg. Now, Greg's Wendy's age, but was twice as big as her. And same kind of thing. She walks out the door innocently, no agenda. Greg sees her and says, "Girls can't lift weights." So Wendy challenged him to a contest and beat him in every exercise, and the poor guy sulked 4 days. Now, Wendy sometimes can cross the line between not being a pushover and just being outright ornery. One time, she was with her brothers and sister-in-law Sherry coming back from a camping trip in Utah. And, everybody was really tired, except for Wendy, who was amped up in 2 cups of coffee. She wanted to keep going. They pulled over, and put out sleeping bags. And Wendy grabs Les's car keys and throws them in the desert. And
They were my car keys.
yeah, they didn't find them until 1 in the morning after an hour of searching. They're lucky they found them at all.
The next day.
The next day. Not true.
You know, I've learned a lot from Wendy about being a better communicator, especially when it comes to my feelings. Now, as you might imagine, Wendy has a lot of clothes. She gives away clothes typically to family and friends each year, but she still has a lot of clothes. Clothes with tags on them. We have this huge, giant walk-in closet. You have to use a ladder to get up. I get a little corner of it. She fills up the whole rest of the closet with clothes and shoes, and half the dresser, and the closet and the dresser in the next room.
That's the way it should be.
So with all these clothes, she likes to get, opinions of what to wear. So she say, Steve, let me try these 4 dresses, and you tell me which one looks better on me. Then it's, okay, now I have 6 pairs of shoes. Which pair of shoes go better with which dress? And so on. Now, after some time of doing this, it occurred to me, it didn't matter what I said. She would just wear whatever she's going to wear. So I went to her and I said, Wendy, it hurts my feelings. It makes me feel bad. It makes me feel unimportant when you ask my opinion and then you don't follow it. You completely ignore it. Now, the reason I said this was because I was hoping to get out of having to give my opinion. But she actually took my words to heart, and now she does follow my recommendations. And she doesn't ask me quite as much, so it's win-win. Wendy has a terrific sense of humor, and she's always quick to laugh. In fact, for a long time into our relationship, I thought I was getting to be a lot funnier. Because she would laugh at all my jokes. Even those jokes that I suspected my siblings, Deb and Janae and Alan, I suspected they'd scoff at them. But I figured they just lacked the sophistication to fully appreciate my witty repartee. One day, we had dinner, we were at a table with Jamie and Leo Daniels' daughter, Erica. And Erica just had her own baby a month or 2 ago, but back then she was 5 years old herself. And she started telling jokes. Now, I don't know if you have heard of 5-year-old jokes or remember them, but let me assure you, they are in no way funny. In fact, those of you who know Wendy's brother-in-law, Jim, they don't even begin to measure up to a Jim joke. That's how bad they are. But
oh, man.
Wendy laughed uproariously at every one of the jokes. So I'm sitting here watching her, just feeling my bubble deflate. Wendy has this kind of charming naivete about some things. So you combine that with her sense of humor, and I find myself in situations where it's just, difficult to resist teasing. Because after all, that's what eldest-born kids, especially eldest-born males, do. Right, Willie? One time we were flying out of Reno, and so the late afternoon, the day before, we go to check in at the Hyatt Reno, and Wendy stays in the car with the luggage. I go into the lobby, and they have a display case at the Hyatt. I don't know if they still do, but pre-COVID anyway. And they have these big, gooey chocolate chip cookies. I knew she'd love them. I love them. So I got 2 cookies and 2 glasses of milk. Didn't make sense to walk back out to the car. So walked down the hall, and our room was on the first floor, and put them in the room. And I was about to leave, and I was struck by inspiration. And I grabbed one of the cookies, and I walked back down the hall, and I walked out to the car, and I started eating it as I approached the car. And Wendy looks at me. You didn't get me one? I said, well, no, I didn't think you'd want one. So from the walk, from the car, we went outside the hotel, outside to her room. The entire walk, she's yelling at me. You should have gotten me a cookie. You're so inconsiderate. You never think of me. And so on. And we get to the room, we open the door, and she sees the 2 glasses of milk and the cookie, and she burst out laughing.
That's a service.
Wendy and I have both done Bikram hot yoga since 2008. Now, Wendy was a gymnast in high school and college, and she's danced almost her whole life. She's incredibly flexible, way more coordinated than me. So she was way better at all the 26 postures than me. Since then, I've done thousands of classes. My last one was on Thursday with Lena and Terry, my 2032nd. So you think, and that's at least 20 times more than you, right? At least. So you think that I would have gotten better, but after all this time, she's still better than me at all these postures. Now, we recently took longevity tests. I'm predicted to live to the age of 99. She's predicted to live to the age of 95. So I figure I have 34 more years of practice to get better than her at one posture, which I'm determined to do or die trying. So, as I mentioned, Wendy grew up with two brothers. They're all around the same age, though, and they were both very rambunctious kids. In fact, they're very rambunctious adults, but they're particularly rambunctious boys. And Wendy had to get tough. In fact, she developed this kind of pseudo-jiu-jitsu move where she lays on her back, and then when the brother comes to attack, she puts her knees up to her chest and puts her feet on their chest, and then she uses her great flexibility to reach around, block their ankles, and pushes them so they fall over on their backs. Now, I wrestled in 4 years of high school and college, and I coached for 4 or 5 years. So all that wrestling experience, combined with the fact that I outweighed her by about 50%, kind of made me think I could take her. Fairly on in our, a little bit, I don't know, several months on in the relationship, we were at Napa one day, and we're out on the lawn, and on the grass, and I'm goofing around. I take her down, I let her up, and I take her down, I let her up, and I take her down, she stays on her back, so I say, okay, I'll go in for the pin, which I do. All of a sudden, I feel myself leave the ground. I go flying back through the air, and I smack on my ass, hurt like hell, almost as much as my pride. I was totally stunned. But I think it was at that moment that I first realized I was falling in love.
Just falling.
How many of you were here for Wendy's 50th birthday party?
I was.
So that was an epic event, and not really epic in a good way. We rented a house over, on Quick Aspen, a couple of miles from here, and it probably holds some kind of record for the most drunk people at a party. People were sick at night, they were sick and hungover the next day. Wendy herself was by far the drunkest I've ever seen her. 2 o'clock in the morning, she still wanted to party. Everybody, other than me, was sleeping or sick or out cold. And I was really tired, so I picked her up and I put her over my shoulder, and I walked down the steps and walked to the Honda Element, and I opened the passenger door, I buckled her in, walk around to the driver's side, and all of a sudden I hear this thump. What the heck? So I walked back around the passenger side. She had opened the door and fallen out, and she's laying there in the street. Yeah, Robin was the only other person that was up besides me. So I pick her up, buckle her in again, wrap the seatbelt around her, and drive home. She was hungover for 2.5 days. I want everybody to have a great night tonight, but that can happen again. Well, and there's a big sale at TJ Maxx early next week. She's got to be in fighting shape. I've told you a lot about the funny sides of Wendy tonight, but I would be totally remiss if I didn't also emphasize not only how much I love her, but how much I admire her. She's just such a genuine person, and so kind and funny and empathetic, and she loves to dance and to sing and to laugh. And she brings joy into the lives of everybody that know her. And I'm just incredibly fortunate incredibly blessed to be married to her. And I look so much forward to continuing to spend every birthday with you, at least until my untimely death at the age of 99. So everybody join me in wishing Wendy a very happy birthday.